All right. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
Love is the law. Love under will.
Welcome to Sekhet-Maat, Oasis, Qabalah 101 class. I'm Frater Audeo, and this is Soror Luz-y.
Hi, welcome to everyone who is out there on YouTube. This is a free class that we offer at Sekhet-Maat, and a suggested donation of $10 could really help us to continue to offer events and other content in the future. If you like our content, please hit the like button down below. You can subscribe and get notifications. There is content uploaded to our channel every week.
All right, and another little disclaimer. I'm not a Hebraic scholar or a Kabbalistic scholar even. I am a student on the path who goes through some lists of correspondences and brings them to you so that we can learn them together and then hopefully implement them later on in our own magical work. The tables I bring are my documentation, and the way I pronounce something may not be the way you pronounce something. Hebrew is an ancient language that is not real clear on a lot of the pronunciation. Matter of fact, supposedly I think only the rabbis knew about it, and once a year they went in and proclaimed the word of God and did it in their fashion. That's all more than you need to know, but basically it's just stating, don't get offended if I say something different than the way you say something. Even if I use a correspondence that you don't use, try not to let that bother you, and I won't let it bother me. So anyways, with that being said, let's get started.
All right.
All right. Today is the 21st path. The 21st path is the intelligence of conciliation and reward, and is so called because it receives the divine influence which flows into it from its benediction upon all and each existence. And that's the Westcott version. From the Kaplan, who's a more scholarly resource, is the desired and sought consciousness. Sekel ha chahut veha mevaksh.
That was a mouthful.
It is called this because it receives the divine influx so as to bestow its blessing to all that exists. And so that idea of bestowing something, the conciliation and the reward, Hesed is the upper sphere there on the right-hand side, the blue sphere, the sphere of mercy, love, memory. Those are keywords associated with it. It is benevolence, Jove, the Jupiter, all of these things of expansion and of taking care of your kingdom. And so it is a very pleasant side or a pleasant aspect of our consciousness represented by Hesed. It links Netzach, which is directly below that, the green sphere. Below it, it is Sephiroth 4 and 7, and it's connected by Kaph. And Hesed is the planet is represented as Jupiter, but so be and also Kaph is as well. Kaph is the planet, is the letter representing, it's the seventh holy planet, or the holy planet that is representative of Jupiter. And Netzach being the sphere of desire, the sphere of love as well. That's an interesting place. So it's a softer spot on the tree. It's a lot less harsh than what we had done last week when we were on Lamed. Well, actually last week we were in Geburah, which was even a little bit harsher than that, you could say by far. It's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum there. So, all right, next. And that's also the sphere of Venus is linked to Jupiter via the Jupiter path, the wheel of fortune, or the in Crowley's deck, Crowley and Lady and Frida Lady Harris's deck. Kaph, and they just use the word fortune instead of the wheel of fortune for their title. All right, animals, real and imaginary, that are representative of this this path on the tree of life, is the eagle and the praying mantis. And the eagle is a symbolic of Jupiter itself, and praying mantis is kind of a play on the words, really. It's because it is to represent the devotional aspect of the path. Aspiration and devotion are huge, because you've got Netzach down below, which is devotional, and then you've got what you would be devoting to, representative of above that in Hesed. So I thought that was interesting how the praying mantis came in, and apparently because they look like they're praying. So yes. Even though, have you ever seen a praying mantis take down a hummingbird?
I guess not.
Kind of the opposite. But everybody eats something and stays alive.
Yeah.
So plants, real and imaginary: hyssop, cedar, oak, poplar, fig, sage, and arnica. Hyssop is often used in astringent purposes. It's a cleansing herb. You'll see that in like ritual purifications quite often. Cedar and oak, I'm not certain what theirs other. I think it's more of the smell of those both. And then you have fig, sage, and arnica. And sage is obviously used in many different traditions. Really commonly in the Native American, you would use sage and sweetgrass in order to do what's called smudging, which is purification or consecration by fire. Both of those mixed together. It's not just purely consecration, it's also a cleansing aspect. It's a ritual of purification, but you do it with fire. So, and arnica itself, we don't go many places without arnica. Yeah. Oh, let me get some arnica. I get hurt, I get a cut or whatever. All of a sudden, I've got arnica on in no time. So apparently, it's sacred to this household too. So, just saying.
Well, yeah, it's good for pains and bruises and bumps and stuff like that. It keeps the blood from coagulating in the area. So I don't know, maybe that's kind of a purification of itself.
All right. Precious stone is the sapphire. Magical weapon is the scepter, the cup, or goblet, and the cornucopia. Cornucopia being the often used when you're visualizing the north and say a banishing, and it's the round ear shaped thing full of bounty. Yes, but I always think of those things like in the olden days where they would listen. That's why I meant the ear-shaped thing.
Oh, okay.
The hearing aid of old time. But normally, and in this, it's not the same thing. It's one that's full of fruit and the rewards of hard work. So it fits pretty well. If you've worked really hard, if you've attained this level on the tree of life, you've done a lot of work, and you deserve a little bounty. The lineal figure can be a square or rhombus, both of the four-sided thing. Four-sided objects, Jupiter is associated with 4 on the tree of life, the 4th Sephirah, and so not surprising to see that. Again, incense is cedar, saffron, clove, and all generous odors. Yeah, we kind of talked about the cedar and the saffron, of that smell, that expansiveness that is brought on by those smells. That's why that is. So the vegetable drugs that is associated with this path: cocaine.
Which is kind of funny because like you were talking about all this mildness and
Mhm.
but what do you think that
I'm not certain how that gets put in there. That was on Crowley's um, list. And, the first thing, this is just total brainstorm, not any reason that I read it or anything like that, but like how one may experience the effects of cocaine where they get to figuring out the every problem in the world and thinking they've got it down and just kind of laying out a bunch of plans and getting things busy and getting things moving and going
just
in a
that
certain
movement
direction.
maybe?
I think, that would be my take on why that would be associated there. Um, you kind of would be a little bit more aware of the cycles, you know, utilizing it or utilizing it too much.
Yeah.
You could certainly get trapped in the cycle that's representative of the Wheel of Fortune as well,
Yeah.
because it's also symbolic of 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 cycles and its cyclicity. It's knowing how things work in a specific order and you know when they're not working all together, sometimes that's not synergy. It's like a broken system. So the human body, it's representative of the digestive system. Again, cyclic in nature, in and out. Typical disease would be gout. The magical power and the magical states are works of ambition, intrigue, power of acquiring political and other ascendancies, conquest of the gunas. And that last one, that's works of ambition or magical powers and magical states, the conquest of the gunas. So I'm not certain how you would represent, because I was asked on what kind of a picture should we use to represent that. And, I'm not sure what you would be. Pure light. I'm not sure how you would represent that with a one image. You're talking about the three gunas of the Hindu philosophy of Thomas Rajas and Sattva. Power, love, and wisdom is another way to equate that. Makai, would you have anything to add on the conquest of the gunas?
Yeah, I think if I were going to represent it with a single image, it would have to be something related to a triangle or to a scale that had 3 balance pans, if such a thing were possible. Because the idea is that so Rajas is like energy, kinetic energy. Tamas is like the lazy log, and then Sattva is usually represented as like a higher calm type energy. Like in some traditions, Sattva is purity, and what you're looking for when you balance the gunas is to only have Sattva. In some other traditions, they recognize that having sort of a fire of motion, that Rajas is very important, but also time for rest, that Tamas is important, and so those 3 balance. So I'd go for something triangular and sort of flat, for what it's worth.
Yeah, and I get the idea of the 3 gunas, but putting the conquest part of it, do you think that's the conquest would be the general motion towards each one? Or do you think it's like that you've mastered each one of those?
So I think there are multiple ways to look at this. One way of talking about the conquest of the gunas is having them all perfectly balanced so they're no longer an issue in your life. Another way of talking about the conquest of the gunas is having them so balanced and so mastered that you've essentially moved beyond them and they are no longer a part of your reality. So if you look at, I forget which school it is, but there's at least one older yoga text that Crowley had read and relied on that talks about, the conquest or the moving beyond essentially the gunas as one of the steps on the road, either on the road to samadhi or after passing samadhi. I can look that up real quick if you want, but I don't remember off the top of my head what it is. But one of the ideas essentially is that as you move towards samadhi, things become less and less important. They're up from the physical nature. So if you look, for example, at the way Patanjali laid out his 8 limbs of yoga, they start with the physical, gross things like how you interact with the world and what you do with your body. And then they move to things that are more internal and mental processes. And then they move to things that are purely spiritual experiences. And so if you look at things from that sense, mastering the gunas is having your physical world and including your meat suit body have that all resolved so that you can move further on the path to something that's more subtle.
Mhm.
Nice.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and that was kind of my take as well, like as far as what kind of that conquest of the gunas, the mastery or the light body being perfected, kind of, I thought. So, very cool. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so now the divine names are El, El Abba, and
That's Kofran, right?
what?
That Kofran.
That's not right. I
Oh.
believe. I think they're both Ales.
Are they
So
both?
it's Ale and El. We might have a little typo in that one, but that's okay.
Okay.
But it's basically God the Father. El Abba is what that would be.
Oh, wait, down here. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, El, and then El, and then Abba right there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I found it.
Okay.
Sorry to butt in briefly. When in the fourth portion of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the fourth pada, which was written after the original 3 were written, there's an idea of a Dhammamega Samadhi, which is freedom from karma, from impurities and coverings of knowledge. So the gunas or the sheaths, koshas, the sheaths that cover the different parts of your body, like the God seeds inside, and then it gets these little pieces. And also this Dhammamega Samadhi is freedom from the gunas. So it's like the mega samadhi beyond all the things.
Gotcha.
Right on.
Cool. Well, thank you for looking that up as well.
Yeah.
All right. Then Archangel will be Zadkiel. Planetary angel is Sakiel. The heaven of Vasya is Zadok, which is Hebrew and for Jupiter. Legendary orders of beings, the incubi, which are the demonic, not demonic, but negative aspects that may feed on supposedly on sexual energy. Incubi and succubi are often representative of in a negative fashion, not necessarily truth, but that's how they're usually representative of. And then nightmares. Some of us know about nightmares, others do not so much. I don't have a lot of nightmares, so. But,
On occasion.
yeah. Lucky for that, I suppose. So keep it going.
Oh, okay. Oh wait, did you go to the Pantheon?
No.
Okay.
So now the pantheons. Normally we have the title for that one. So
sorry.
Let's see. For Egyptians, it's Amun Ra. Thelemic can be Nuit or the Scarlet Woman, and Nuit and the Scarlet Woman being the all and the all nature of both of those is how their usage is here. In Greek, it'll be Zeus, Roman, Jupiter, and Pluto. Hindu is Brahma and Indra. All right, so now we're getting to the path itself. The color scale for the king scale is violet, the queen scale is blue, the prince scale is rich purple, and the princess scale is bright blue, rayed yellow. And I always wonder about the color schemes, and I know how they come about, but I always am interested in the final one, the princess scale. And this, I found a couple of pages, and it wasn't related to the colors. It was actually an explanation of Jupiter, slightly down, but it explained that color very well. And this was in 777 specifically about Jupiter. But religious devotion of Jupiter is rewarded by the yellow rays of the HGA. So kind of like talking about on that path being that's that final color, and then the HGA bleeding through that the color of Hesed. I thought was really fitting. So I liked that. So I included it with the color scales. The tarot card associated with it is Fortune. Traditionally, that would be the Wheel of Fortune. But all it does is renaming and slight changing. And this one is a beautiful rendition of it. And I like the way Lady Frida Harris, or Frida Lady Harris, painted this one. It evokes a definite state of mind just in a small amount of time, meditating upon it. The esoteric title is the Lord of the Forces of Life. Earlier, we talked about the fact that it's cyclic, the cyclicity of nature. If one knows the cycles in life, one can plan, one can know when it's going to be getting cold. One can know that it's almost time to plant a garden. It's not quite yet, but if we document certain things and we realize our place in this universe, we know that in a couple of weeks we could be putting plants outside, and there's a good chance that they're going to live. If we don't live within those bounds and those limits, and just go willy-nilly, and we start planting, let's say like corn right now, it's gonna come up possibly and then die, or not be very strong because it needs that strong sun. Plant a sunflower right now, it might not do the best. You can start it inside. And so by knowing the cycles of nature, we can live in harmony and live in a state of synergy, working within the realms and learning those balancing points and creating bounty and growth as opposed to strife. Later on, we'll get into the two aspects of the double-lettered key, which I think are wealth and poverty. So by following and being attentive of the cycles in the world around us, we can create abundance and wealth. If we fail to heed the cycles, we can have poverty in the different and the many different guises of that, not just in the cash flow. It can be in emotional
Or spiritual.
poverty, spiritual poverty. But learning when to work and how to align that better with the universe around us, we can make good gains. So it's a nice card. So nice. Okay, so Jupiter itself, astrologically, it rules Cancer and Sagittarius. Cancer by day and Sagittarius by night, I believe. And the part of the soul represented by this is Neshama, which is interesting because that's just kind of playing on the aspect of it being a representative of water, because where it's representative on the tree of life, it's actually in the Ruach. The Ruach being the five spheres in the center of the tree of life, Hesed, Gabura, Tifereth in the center, Hod and Netzach, and occasionally it would include Yesod, which would make that fifth one. But oftentimes that is not the correct, or not utilized that way in different models, because that is the Nefesh in some ways to explain it. So I just wanted to give clarification on that. I realize it's in the Ruach, but it's representative of Neshama in the attribution list. And then yeah, figure it's due to the fact that it's representative of water. So water would be representative of Bina, the top of the tree, and that's where the neshama lives, and that's, I think, where that correspondence is coming from. So again, the psychological attributions that I talked about earlier, every double letter of every planet that's representative of with the on the tree, those are also double letters in the Hebrew alphabet. So those also have double meanings that we talked about just a minute ago, the wealth and the poverty, and how those play out, and basically how those are, you know, representative of the cycles, and how we can learn to deal with that. So, all right, so that's Kaph spelled out, which is pretty simple to spell, which is Kaph Fenepe. So, like I do every time, learning how to spell something out, we can have a deeper meaning of that understanding. So you've got two planets right there represented. You've got Jupiter and you've got Mars. So you've got the cycles, and you've got a specific cycle being representative, the clearing away of the dross, the clearing away of the bounds, and so they're very opposite in nature. They are on the tree of life. They're on opposite spaces too, because the sphere of Mars would be, even though the path is down at the bottom, the sphere of Mars is Qabalah, which we went over last time, and the sphere of Jupiter is Hesed. So on the tree, they're opposing forces. They're the pillar of severity and on the pillar of mercy. So, so it's an active. You can tell right away that it's active. In general, the one-liners that is associated with Kaph is the palm of the hand. And one is saying that Kaph, in its normal state, or its not final state, it's a grasping hand or a fist. And then the Kaph final, in its open form, could be the open hand, is one way to look at it. And when you think about the little one-liners associated with the letters, that aspect of grasping, of having something and a grasp on it, I think leads to there again acknowledging the cyclicity of things, the watching the cycles of nature, watching, if you want to take it to money, like the stock market, knowing that if something goes up, good chance it's going to go down. And so, and you can learn certain aspects of even that by simply watching and simply noting. The people before us had they devoted a lot more time to watching the cycles, and we get the benefit and the fruit of that. But it's really in order to encourage us to do the same and to begin to, as well, put down the phone for a little bit and look outside. Notice the things. Notice when the birds are arriving, when they're leaving. Notice when the first leaf falls that you notice. All of these things are cues in order to keep us in alignment, and also to focus our mind and to work in our universal alignment, and not even in a greater scheme of things, just in a simple thing. So the simple cycles of nature, in order to prosper. We benefit from watching the cycles, even the cycles within us. Yeah. So, all right.
It's a short presentation.
Yeah, shorter today. So, but nonetheless, it was good. I enjoyed this card very much. I would strongly recommend that you spend the week doing meditation on it. Spend a couple of minutes just looking at it, not even trying to do anything. Spend a few minutes in silence and just focus on your breath and focus on the card, and just allow that change to occur within you. There'll be a time where you're asked to show an emblem, and this is the emblem today. It's the wheel of spirit. It's an 8-spoked wheel, represented spirit. So we'll start with a banishing and an invocation of water, if you would, please.
Yeah. Hator, Ailas, Melkut, Vegebura, Vegedula, Liolam, Amen. Yorevave, Adonai, Yea, Atagabol Yolam Adonai, before me, Raphael, behind me, Gabriel, in my right hand, Mikael, in my left hand, Oriel, about me flames the pentagram, and within me shines the 6-rayed star. Ator, Ailas, Melkut, Vegebura, Vegedula, Liolam, Amen. Atagabol Yolam Adonai, Eyel, 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 before me, Gabriel, behind me, Raphael, in my right hand, Oriel, in my left hand, Mikael, about me flames the pentagram, And within me shines the six-rayed star. Ato Hayuat Melkut Vegevura Vegedula Olam. Amen.
So just take a deep breath. Filling your lungs full. And when you let out a sigh. And again, another deep, full breath. And one more in the same fashion. Allow the days to fade away. Concerns of the day, let them go to the wayside. Just for a few minutes, don't think about dinner. Don't think about what you have to finish tonight or get ready for tomorrow. Be present right here and now. And focus on your breath. We're going to begin to count at a fourfold breath. So we'll breathe in for 4. We'll hold for 4. We'll exhale for 4. And we'll stay empty for 4. And we'll repeat that process over and over for a little bit of time. So now guide us through. So inhale to a count of 4. Hold to a count of 4. Exhale to a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. Exhale for a count of 4. Stay empty for a count of 4. Now allow the counting to just fade into the darkness and behind your closed eye, but still remain focused on the breath. No need to control it, but acknowledge what it's doing. The breath goes in, and the breath goes out. The breath goes in, and the breath goes out. The breath goes in, and the breath goes out. Now do this on your own for a few moments, staying focused on the breath. When your mind wanders, just bring it gently back and focus on what the breath is doing. Behind your closed eyes, begin to formulate the astral temple of Malkuth. Once the temple is built, call on the divine name, the Archangel, and the Elemental. Adonai Hararetz Sandalphon Hashim. The Archangel Sandalphon appears, and you exchange the sign of the enter, and she replies with the sign of silence. She asks, why have you come to her abode? And you hold up the symbol of the spirit will. She escorts you quickly through the portal of Kaph in the southeast of the temple, up the 29th path to the temple of Netzach. Leaving Sandalphon, you enter the fire temple, giving the sign of the enter. Once inside, you give the sign of silence. The seven-sided temple, draped in green silk, presents itself to you. The sight of the emerald ceiling with the inlaid ruby heptagram never fails to please your eyes. 7 emerald columns surmounted with grapevines surrounded the ruby altar on which the temple flame, roses, and a cistern. You announce your presence in the temple by vibrating the divine names, which call forth its inhabitants. Yor-Hei Wa-Hei Sabaoth Hanael Elohim. the Archangel Hanael appears, a lovely winged feminine creature in robes of green chiffon emblazoned with a red heptagram, and questions you. Behold, the abode of the fire and desire. By what symbol dost thou enter herein? You answer, by the symbol of the spirit wheel. Hanael nods with approval. The spirit wheel is an emblem of unity of the divine and humanity's aspiration and desire for the divine. It is a worthy symbol for the 21st path of Kaph. Hanael takes you to the east of the temple and draws back a portion of the green drapery to reveal a violet archway bearing a white letter Kaph on its keystone. Within the arch is a veil with the tarot image of the Wheel of Fortune painted on it. The Archangel traces the symbol of Jupiter in the air before the archway, and the veil fades into a mist. In its place is a door carved out of amethyst. Holding up the spirit wheel, you trace the figure of the letter Kaph before the door, which dissolves. Stepping through the portal, you enter the path of Kaph. You step out into an area of violet, mist alive with power and energy. You hear the voice of Hanael as she speaks to you. It is written, for desire of thy house, O Adonai hath eaten me up. I desire to be dissolved and be with thee. Guide me in my aspiration for that divine and only selfhood which is in thee. Within the violet mist, you see the image of the spirit wheel, a large white circle with 8 spokes, a figure which in medieval times was called the double-cross circle. Before your eyes, the wheel transforms into a large circular table made of wood. It is the round table of the Arthurian tradition. Seated around it are the legendary knights of the Fellowship of the Table Round. King Arthur of Britain is there as well, reigning over a peaceful kingdom characterized by justice and abundance. Then the round table and its knights vanish into the violet mist. You find yourself in the midst of a desolate landscape of leafless trees, wasted fields, and dried up lakes and streams. The sky is gray and overcast, without any hope of sunlight. It is cold, but not damp. You imagine that this is what a nuclear winter might be like. Emerging from a barren grove of trees, a figure on horseback approaches you. A handsome young man wearing the armor of a knight. His horse, the color of chestnut, is obviously tired and walks with a slow gait. The knight, too, looks as though he has been out on the road for a long time. His armor has lost its polish, and his hair is unkempt. However, his eyes still gleam with some indefinable fire. It is Percival, one of the Grail Knights. He raises his hand to address you. Good morrow to you, fellow traveler, he says. What brings you to this God-forsaken place? I am journeying on the 21st path of Kaph. You'll hold up the sigil of the spirit wheel. Parzival nods, another seeker after the divine. Perhaps we should travel together for a time. Maybe we can both find what we seek. With a gentle nudge, the knight directs his roan to assume a slow pace up the path so that you can walk alongside without effort. The two of you continue on the trail through the ravaged landscape. This was once a beautiful valley filled with apple orchards. Parsifal informs you, pointing to the bottomland, and over there used to be a clear running stream. But that was before the Fisher King in Fortus took ill, and the land was made barren. It is all a wasteland now. Some say the king was once wounded in the thigh during some long ago war. They say that wound has never healed and worsens even as we speak. I say that it is the king's heart that is wounded. It is his spirit that is sick. As the king fails, so does the land, for the king and the land are one. To heal one, we must heal the other. And to do that, we must find the grail. We must find the grail or die trying. Just then you notice another knight on horseback coming up the trail from the other direction. He looks to be in far worse shape than Parsifal. The ribs of his horse are almost sticking through its skin. The rider is himself wounded, his arms hanging limply in a bloody makeshift sling. Parsifal addresses him. "Have you seen it?" he asks. "No," answers the knight with barely any expressions. "I don't think it even exists anymore." The crippled knight passes by. His quest finished. Parsifal seems stung by his words. It does exist, he tells you, and you wonder just who it is he is trying to reassure. The Grail must exist. Without it, we are lost. The king and the land will wither away. We must find the Grail or die trying. As you continue up the path, your companion explains how he came to be on this quest. "I was but a boy living half wild in the woods when I saw 3 noble knights for the first time. The sight of their armor gleaming in the sunlight, I thought they were angels, even gods. I begged my mother for a horse that I might ride to the city of Camelot. There I might be knighted by Arthur of Britain and become a knight of the Table Round. I desperately wished to learn the arts of knighthood and chivalry. So ignorant was I then. I could neither read nor write. I did not even know my name. The Lady Seguin revealed to me my true name. Pierce the veil. Parsifal. The light that pierces the darkness of the eastern sky at morrow. God grant me the ability to live up to my name. I arrived at Arthur's court, but I was not made a knight. I had to prove myself by fighting the Red Knight and many other warriors. Only then was I trained in the ways and manners of a knight. And one day, I know not how or why, I was guided to a castle by a fisherman. There I met the good King Anfortas, who was gravely ill, wounded in the thigh by a spear. And in the great hall of the castle I beheld a wondrous procession of fair maidens carrying candles and glass vessels. Then came a radiant queen who carried something called the Grail. Many knights and squires pledged their service to this grail, but I did not understand the significance of what was taking place. The maimed king gave me his word. The maimed king gave me his sword. Then and there, God had given me the opportunity to heal and fortis the Fisher King by asking and answering the questions posed by the Grail. But I had no understanding of such things. The next morning, I found myself alone. The castle had vanished into thin air, and the land began to waste away, just as the Fisher King was wasting away. For this was the Grail Castle of Montaliech, that I in my ignorance beheld but did not comprehend. Since that day, I had a handful of other knights have made finding the Grail our only aspiration. And on my quest, I have learned much. Some say the Grail is the chalice of our Lord at the Last Supper, or the cup used by Joseph of Arimathea to catch the blood of Christ on the cross. Others say it is a precious stone fallen from heaven, a magical cauldron of the goddess Sirduin, or even a dish containing a head that speaks prophecy. I am just a simple man. I do not know what the Grail is. I only know that it will restore the Fisher King and the land. It will bring unity. I know this in my heart. I must find the Grail or die trying. There's nothing else to seek. Parzival is silent for a while, during which time you study your companion knight. He seems regretful of his past misdeeds, but he also seems detached from worldly matters and single-minded in his quest. He seems to have one foot in the material world and one foot in the invisible realms. You travel over a long distance and see many strange sights, including a dragon belching fire and a voluptuous maiden with sweet beckoning arms sitting in the circle of chalices, which all look like the Grail. Parzival informs you that these are false Grail images meant to snare the unwary. As if to emphasize the point, he gestures to the skeletons of knights lying amid the circle of chalices, victims of their own lack of true vision. At one point, you and your companion knight meet the Lady Seguin cradling a dead knight. Shades of Parzival's past misdeeds. Next, you see a woman dressed in rags. It is the Duchess of Jeshud, the noble lady that Parzival had earlier dishonored. She begins to weep and begs to be left alone, but your companion dismounts his horse and offers the lady his cloak for warmth. Yet another figure from Parzival's past emerges, Duke Aurelius wearing armor engraved with dragons. Aurelius descends from his mount and rushes at Parzival with a blood-curdling battle cry. The two warriors slash at each other with their swords, but Parzival has the upper hand. He is soon victorious and demands that Aurelius forgive his wife, who is innocent of blame. Eventually, the Duke agrees, and Parzival gives back the ring that he has taken from the Duchess and begs her forgiveness. Parzival is actively working out his karma. His past offenses corrected, Parsifal takes the road again, and you accompany him. At length you enter the city of Camelot, where your companion is boisterously greeted at King Arthur's court and escorted into the great hall of the Fellowship of the Round Table. Arthur of Britain embraces Parsifal warmly and forgives him of all his former errors. Arthur prepares to receive Parsifal as a full knight of the Table Round, but Parsifal declines. The Grail is my true destiny, he tells Arthur. I have passed from this bliss of ignorance to the despair of knowledge. This humble knight must pull himself out of the depths and ascend to the heights. Peace has gone from me until I must find the Grail again. I will find the Grail or die trying. The two of you leave Camelot and continue up the path. Night is falling and your companion takes you to the forest home of an old hermit named Truciant, who has been Parsifal's guide and teacher throughout his years of questing. The hermit invites you both to warm yourselves by his fire. Parsifal looks weary. He asks his hermit, "How long has it been since I was here last, old friend? How long has it been since I started this quest?" 4.5 years ago, Truciant answers as he hands you each a cup of wine. Parsifal unexpectedly breaks down in front of his old mentor. "I fear I am lost," he sobs. "I've made so many errors in my life. I cannot remember the last time I entered a church. I miss my wife. I'm angry with God for sending me on this endless journey full of sorrow and sacrifice. I don't know how my soul came to be in such a state of conflict. I fear that I will die before I find the Grail again." The old hermit consoles Parsifal and gently admonishes him for having doubts. He then proceeds to offer spiritual advice. "Bear no anger toward God in your heart," he tells the knight. "The true divine light may shine in the darkness of the human heart. If the soul wishes to win the love of God, you have done all you can in this manner. Whether or not you find the Grail, it is in God's hands. It is a matter of God's grace and your destiny." The hermit pauses. "I once beheld the Grail myself. I, too, saw the Grail castle of Montevish, the mountain of salvation. A host of valiant knights, known as Templars, guard the Grail. They journey from the castle seeking adventure, but whether they reap reward or failure for their efforts, they always fulfill the dictates of their destiny. I tell you now, these knights are sustained not by food, but the power of the Grail, which is made of pure stone. This stone has the power to burn a phoenix to ashes and restore the bird to life. It has the power to make men young again. The Grail has the power to heal all wounds and return the fertility of the land. And it is engraved with the names of those Grail kings who have come before and the names of those who will come after. Why seek out God or his Grail when the same is said to be found on every church altar in Christendom? The Grail contains the power of the Holy Spirit. Its mysteries are beyond the ken of the average church liturgy. It contains the mysteries of the human soul. It has the ability to transfigure the heart, the mind, and the soul. These mysteries cannot be explained to you by one who has seen the Grail. Each must find it for themselves. The personal quest is the key to its understanding. And this understanding heals all wounds of the spirit. So you must finish what you started. Find the Grail, heal the Fisher King, and you will heal yourself. Parsifal nods silently and dries his tears. He thanks his old friend. And you decide to take this moment and ask Parsifal's mentor why you're sharing this past with him. Is there something that you were to take back with you from the 21st path of Kaph? Maybe it's a symbol. Maybe it's a sign. Maybe it's purely an emotion. But there's a message just for you. What is it? Parsifal and yourself thank the old friend. He gets up to check on his horse, and you follow him outside. I will keep looking, he tells you, as he pats his roan horse. I cannot give up now, and if it be God's will that I find the Grail, then so be it. And if it be God's will that I never set eyes on it again, so be it. I must strive harder to purify myself and cleanse my soul. Either way, I must be true to whatever fate has dealt me. The two of you gaze up at the full moon hanging in the cold, dark sky and contemplate the mystery of creation. The crisp night air feels pleasant and pure against the skin of your face. Suddenly, a look of surprise spreads across Parsifal's face. I see it, he says. I see the Grail castle of Montevesh. Straining your eyes, you peer into the darkness in the direction that Parsifal is looking. You see what he is looking at, a gleaming white castle seated at the rise of a hill. A dozen knights on horseback guard the front of the narrow bridge leading to the castle gate, 6 to each side of the bridge. How proud they look in their armor and tabards of white ornamented with red crosses. Just then the castle gates swing open. Hovering some feet off the ground inside the castle entrance is a gleaming silver chalice surrounded by a brilliant halo of light. A white dove, the symbol of the Holy Spirit, is suspended over the vessel. The Grail Knights wait patiently for Parsifal to join them. All this time it was right here in front of me, Parsifal says with quiet joy. Only now I have the eyes to see. He mounts his horse and turns to thank you for accompanying him on this journey. Farewell to you, friend. May you find what you seek. Your companion walks his mount to where the others are waiting for him. The knights close rank behind him as he crosses the bridge to Montevesh. There is no doubt in your mind that he will ask the right questions and be able to provide the right answers. He will heal the Fisher King. Of that, you are certain. The gates of the castle close behind him, and the structure vanishes. Parsifal has found his Grail. It is time to leave the path of Kaph and return to the lower world. Descending to the temple of Netzach, You are greeted once more by the Archangel Hanael. You proceed down the path of Kaph to the temple of Melkuth. Sandalphon then seals the portal of Kaph behind you. Bidding her farewell, you give the sign of the Enterer once again, and she answers with the sign of silence. So we're going to finish the closing since we did the Invocation of Water. We will do a Banishing of Water now that we are complete. So, Soror, will you please perform the Banishing of Water? The Great.
Ator, Iras, Melkut, Vege Buddha, Vege Dula, Leolam, Amen. El. El. Before me, Gabriel. Behind me, Raphael. In my right hand, Uriel. In my left hand, Mikael. About me flames the pentagram, and within me shines the six-rayed star. Atagabol Yalam Adonai. Ator. Iras. Melkut. Vege Buddha. Vege Dula. Leolam. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on YouTube. If you've enjoyed your experience, please make sure to like and have a good rest of your day. Love is the law. Love under well.